How's it going, everybody? We're back with CX500 here. Wanted to kind of go over what I'm doing and give you guys the reasons why. So I went ahead and pulled the 500 engine out last night so I can swap in the 650, and I want to do that because I'm trying to position this tank, and I just want to be sure there's not going to be any extra interference by dropping it down in the front like I want to. So we'll go ahead and mock that up and get it hung, and eventually it'll come back out and we'll disassemble some stuff on it. But yeah, the engine needs to go in so I can position the tank, and then once I position the tank, then I can determine my steering angle, because I need to actually make a new steering stop. So that's pretty important. My goal for every bike, except for like a chopper or something like that, is to be able to, you know, comfortably turn around within the width of a city street, and you know, without doing like a multiple point turn. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm doing on this, and I'm gonna, the next video or the next little spot you'll see here, I'm gonna go ahead and go into depth on some of the differences in these engines. So yeah. So here on my little rolly cart here, I've got the engines side by side, a 650 and a 500. So some of the key differences here, you can tell that upper mount, the cradle on these two frames are different. So the 650 utilizes like a triple backbone type setup, so you can see the cradle is really wide. And then the CX has a single down tube or a single backbone. And the radiator, because of that, the thermostat housing and then your top hose, your upper radiator hose is different. So one thing we have to swap between the 650 and the 500 is that cradle and that radiator. Now, I think what I'm going to try to do is actually keep the 650 radiator and see if I can keep that hose snuck underneath the cradle here. That's just going to be an experiment. I don't think there's any kind of benefit to it, but I kind of like the look of it. It's really clean, so we'll see if that works. It probably won't, but I like to try stuff. And then continuing on, because of that frame difference, you can see the orientation of the intake manifolds here. So this is the CX, and they come out and the carbs split and then run on either side of that backbone, whereas the intake manifolds on the 650 and then the carb alignment, the carbs will actually shoot towards the middle, and then your air filters or air box is placed in between the two frame sections in the rear. So we'll have to swap the intake manifolds, and what I'll do is I need to actually look for some new intake manifolds, because like a lot of CXs, these things are really cracked and getting pretty nasty. Not a lot of light there, but you can see what's going on. And then the 650 carbs, I'm going to actually compare them. I mean, I can do a lot of jetting changes and stuff like that, which I'm familiar with, but I'm going to see if I can use the 650 carbs that came with this engine and use the bracketry from the 500s and see if I can retrofit those on here. Otherwise, I'll just, you know, upjet the 500s and make those work right. And then other differences, your charging system between the CX and the GL, or the 500 and the 650, are different. The 650s utilize like a G8 style stator, a lot more powerful. I think it's like 255 watts, something like that, but it has a higher output on it, so a lot more accessories you can run, a lot more consistent power from the bike. And then your ignition setup on the GLs is typically like a TI or transistor type ignition, and then that's a lot cleaner, a lot simpler on the GL, so that's another benefit we'll have. And we might upgrade that to maybe even like an aftermarket brand, like a Rayson or something like that. And then with the rear housings, or the rear covers, it's dark, I know, it's hard to see. I'm gonna see if I can spin this thing around real quick without pulling the motors off. There we go, we got some better light now. The rear housings are similar, but they are, you know, they are different. So you can see kind of the overall shape here in the rear cover. But the output shaft, luckily, is the same, so you won't have any issues with drive shafts, anything like that. You can utilize all your 500 stuff. Your breathers are a little bit different, and then of course, you know, just some overall electrical routing and things like that. But It won't be, it's not going to be a hard swap by any means. It's, since I have the 500 engine, that you can swap over almost everything you need to the 650. And that's kind of some of the differences there. The 650s, you get these really awesome valve covers. They're just way better looking than the 500s. And I'm excited. We're going to pull this motor, we're going to pull it apart quite far, because I want to just go through it and just make sure there's no internal damage or issues like that. And then we'll just put it back together. I'll clean things. I'll paint cases while it's apart, and it'll be good. Yeah. It's an unknown mileage engine that I got from a friend. Oh, another big key difference on these things. The cooling system, the 500s, they use a mechanical fan. You can see down in here, it's actually driven off the camshaft. That takes a little bit of drag, and then of course while you're at idle and at a low RPM, that's less pull the fan has. That's less air being drawn through the radiator. Whereas the 650, they actually have a factory electric fan, and I might look at upgrading that fan further. I got to test and see if this one works, but the benefits of that is less drag on the engine. Obviously I'll have a little bit more drag in the electrical system, but you get more airflow at a lower RPM or at all times. So it's a more consistent cooling, so you can idle this thing in traffic a little bit better. It should be a lot better in a performance application too. So yeah, we're gonna see if we can stab that in there today, and should be cool. We're gonna start transferring parts. I'll set up a camera and kind of do a little fast forward here. And we're back. So I just got the radiators off of both these engines, and just want to show you kind of more pronounced differences now that you can see in between the two. So 500 engine, 650 engine. You can see the width of the cradle up top, and then obviously that center exit coolant pipe versus the 500. And then obviously mechanical fan versus electric. Both of the tack drives are very similar, and on this bike we're going to end up using a electronic tack, so I'm going to just do a plug on one of those, and that'll clean it up. One less thing to draw even like a tenth of an ounce of power from the engine. So yeah, here they are. Gonna keep working. So with this CX500 and GL650 swap, it's not quite as simple as I thought as just exchanging the cradles over. There's a misalignment on this upper bolt here. You can kind of see the difference. It's not much, but it's enough to where it wouldn't obviously fit. Your lower mounts, they're going to be the same. But yeah, these uppers, I was trying to think of how to best solve this problem. I contemplated modifying the GL series cast iron ones, but I was thinking about combining the two and basically cutting this off here and cutting these like about right there, and then just welding the two together. But I'd be welding cast iron to steel, and well, you can do that. It's just you'd have to really heat the cast iron first and I don't think it'd be as clean. So what I have planned to do is basically cut this section out, cut half that shell, and then that should allow this to at least, you know, the whole mount to slide on the engine and then go ahead and go on the bike. And then from there I can build a sleeve to slide over the stud that's on the engine right here. I'll just build a sleeve, and then hopefully once that's on the bike I can weld the sleeve to the actual cradle where I have cut this section out. So we're gonna see how that works. I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting here in a few minutes, and hopefully we get it to work. Be good. Check it out, I got this engine cradle sorted out here. I ended up making a 3/4 inch diameter sleeve. I just drilled down the center of it in the drill press, and then as you can see in the videos, I cut and just kind of relocated it upwards. The width is ever so slightly wider, maybe like 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch. But yeah, I just ended up kind of filling in with weld and then blended it, and can't even really tell it's there. Same thing on the other side. You can see vertically how far it had to move. And yeah, that allowed me to use the stock CX500 cradle. And then that's on the GL650. And then the tank is just setting down on top of the frame right now in front. But it actually looks like it has a little bit of room. Real quick here, I'm going to pull the tank off and I'll show you guys the interference issues you run into with the thermostat housing. So you'll see here, this is the CX unit that comes out to the left and curves forward. The brace right there is why you can't run the GL series straight fitting. So I'll have to retrofit either the CX radiator on here or try to find maybe something completely different. I can run, I can run the CX, but I still want the electric fan, so I got to figure out how to mount that, because the GL radiator has built-in mounting tabs on it for the fan itself. And in the whole scheme of things, this is like not a big deal, but it's just another thing to have to figure out. But yeah, making progress. We've got the engine hung, and up next we're going to I'm going to pull the front wheel off, probably pull the triple off, and then I actually just got some Cognito goodies. Got my headlight mounts, and then the exciting one, new top triple with 1.1/8" bar risers for those Renthals I have. So I'm pretty excited to get these things mocked up. So yeah, on to the next thing. Never mind the grease in my face, but we're gonna keep working. Keep watching.